I used to volunteer as a trail maintainer in the Wollamai National Park, that vast stretch of wilderness northwest of Sydney where the eucalypts crowd so thick they swallow the sky, and the canyons hide secrets older than the cities. It was thankless work, clearing fallen branches, marking paths, picking up the rubbish left by idiots who think "leave no trace" is just a suggestion. I'd see it all: beer cans tossed in creeks, plastic wrappers fluttering like ghosts, half-eaten food drawing in foxes and feral cats. Most times the culprits were long gone by the time I arrived, but sometimes the mess was fresh and the campers weren't. It started small, whispers among the rangers at the monthly briefings. A group of uni students reported missing after a weekend bender, tents slashed open, gear scattered like a bomb went off, but no bodies. Cops wrote it off as a prank or them wandering drunk into a ravine. Then a family of 4, Barbie wrappers and chip packets everywhere, fire pit still smouldering when search and rescue found the site, vanished without a scream. No tracks leading out, just the mess mocking us. I laughed it off at first, urban legends for the campfire, until I found one myself. It was late spring, the air thick with wattle pollen and the hum of cicadas. I'd been assigned a remote loop trail near the Colo River, rough country, no facilities, permit-only camping. The kind of place where experienced bushwalkers go to disappear on purpose. I hiked in alone, pack heavy with tools and a radio that barely caught signal. By midday, I hit the first designated site, a small clearing ringed by scribbly gums, ground soft with leaf litter. It was a disaster. 3 tents pitched haphazardly, one half collapsed, zipper torn. Sleeping bags dragged out and shredded, stuffing spilling like guts. Food wrappers everywhere, chip bags, energy bar foils, half a loaf of bread mouldering under a log, beer bottles smashed against rocks, shards glinting in the sun. A portable stove tipped over, gas canister hissing faintly. And the fire pit, God, the fire pit was a mound of charred rubbish, plastic melted into toxic blobs, cans warped from the heat. No one there. I called it in on the radio, static at first, then a crackled response from base. Any sign of occupants? Over. Negative, just the chaos. Permits showed a group of 5, city types, mid-20s, logged in 2 days ago. No checkout. I poked around carefully, gloved hands turning over debris. A phone under a tent flap, screen cracked, battery dead. Wallet with cards and cash untouched. No blood, no struggle marks beyond the general disarray. But the air felt wrong, heavy, watchful. The cicadas had gone quiet. As I bagged evidence, something caught my eye in the underbrush. A faint trail of dragged leaves and snapped twigs leading deeper into the scrub. Not animal, too deliberate. I followed it a few meters, heart picking up. Then I heard it, a low rustle, like something large shifting in the leaves. Not wind, not a goanna. I backed off fast, radioed again. Possible foul play, send backup. They found nothing when they arrived hours later. No bodies, no trail beyond what I'd seen. Just the mess, slowly being claimed by the bush. That night, back in my cabin, I couldn't shake it. The photos I took on my phone showed the site clear as day, but when I zoomed in on one, the fire pit, there was something in the ashes I hadn't noticed before. A shape, like fingers, charred and curled, reaching up. The next morning, 2 more reports came in from nearby parks. Messy sights, campers gone. And the whispers among the rangers turned to warnings. Clean up after yourself, or something will clean up after you. The second sight was worse. It came 2 weeks after the first one, on a different trail but still within the same remote pocket of Wollemi. Steep sandstone ridges dropping into fern-choked gullies, the kind of country that turns a casual weekend walk into a full-day slog, even for fit people. I'd been sent back out because the rangers were short-staffed, and the disappearances were starting to stack up quietly. No press yet, no big alerts, just internal memos. Increased vigilance on remote sites. Report any unattended camps immediately. I hiked in from a different access point this time. Longer approach, but less exposure to the main fire trails. The day was hotter than it should have been for spring. Air thick, flies buzzing in clouds, the smell of dry eucalyptus oil hanging heavy. My pack felt heavier than usual. Extra water, evidence bags, a handheld GPS that kept losing lock in the gullies, and the same radio that only worked when it felt like it. I found the camp around 2 p.m., tucked into a small shelf above a creek bend. The permits had listed a party of 6, 3 couples, all from the same Sydney suburb, booked in for 4 nights. They'd checked in via the online system 5 days earlier. No checkout ping. The mess hit me before I even saw the tents. Trash everywhere, like a festival had exploded and then everyone ran. Empty goon bags dangling from branches like sad balloons. Plastic cups crushed underfoot. A portable speaker cracked open on a rock, guts spilling batteries. Food scraps, half-eaten sausages, bread crusts, a wheel of cheese starting to liquefy, scattered in a rough circle around the fire pit. Someone had tried to burn their rubbish again. Black plastic lumps fused to coals, the stink of melted synthetics still lingering. Tents were up, but wrong. 2 zipped shut from the inside, 1 flap torn wide open like something had ripped it to get out. Or in. Sleeping mats dragged halfway out. 1 had claw-like tears across it, too even to be random. No blood, though. Not a drop I could see. I circled slowly, gloved, documenting with photos. My boots crunched over glass and foil. The creek below was low, barely trickling, but I could hear it, soft gurgle against stone. The only sound besides my breathing. Then the quiet changed. Not sudden silence like before. This was different. The cicadas and birds kept going, but underneath them something else rose. A low, rhythmic scrape, like fingernails on bark, slow and deliberate, coming from the direction of the denser scrub uphill. I froze, listened. Scrape, pause, scrape. Closer now. My radio crackled when I keyed it, static mostly, but I got enough through. Base, this is Trail 7, second unattended site. Similar pattern, messy, no occupants. Hearing movement upslope, over. Response was garbled. Something about hold position, team en route. I wasn't holding anything. I backed toward the trail, eyes on the undergrowth. The scrape stopped when I moved, started again when I paused. Testing. That's when I saw the drag marks. Not footprints, more like something heavy had been pulled through the leaf litter. Wide, shallow furrows leading away from the torn tent, disappearing into thick ferns. Parallel lines, maybe a meter apart. Too wide for a person being dragged by arms. Too neat for an animal. I followed them 20 meters. The ferns parted into a small hollow under an overhang of rock. The drag marks ended there. In the shade, half buried in loose soil and leaves, a single shoe. Women's hiking boot, laces still tied, sole caked in red dirt. The tongue had been folded back like someone or something had carefully placed it there. I didn't touch it. Behind me, the scrape came again. Closer, from the direction of the camp now. I turned slow. Nothing visible, just the mess, the tents swaying faintly in a breeze that hadn't been there a minute ago. But in the open tent flap, the one that had been torn, something caught the light. A reflection, low to the ground, like eyes catching sun. I didn't wait to confirm. I bolted back down the trail, pack bouncing, heart slamming. The scrape followed for the first 100 meters, steady, unhurried, then faded. By the time I hit the main ridge, it was gone. The backup team arrived at dusk. They swept the site, found the shoe where I'd left it, bagged it, photographed everything. No drag marks when they looked, said the leaf litter looked undisturbed. No reflection in the tent, just trash and silence. They chalked my description up to heat and adrenaline. Bush can play tricks, one said, especially out here. I didn't argue. That night in the cabin, I uploaded the photos to the shared drive, zoomed in on one of the torn sleeping mat. The claw marks weren't random. They formed a rough shape, almost like letters scratched in haste. Clean, single word, deep gouges. The next morning, another report landed. Third site, even messier. And this time, a single item left behind in the ashes of the fire. A phone. Screen intact. Battery somehow still at 3%. Last video recording timestamped 2:17 a.m. the night before. I haven't watched it yet, but the thumbnail shows a dark tent interior and something tall silhouetted against the flap. Reaching in. The third site was the one that broke something in me. It happened 4 days after the second. The Rangers were on edge now. Briefings had gone from casual to tense, with extra patrols and a quiet directive not to go solo into the deeper sections after dark. But the calls kept coming in. Another permit group overdue. Another site flagged by a passing day hiker who'd smelled the rot before seeing the mess. This one was farther out, near the edge of a narrow canyon system where the Colo River cuts deep and the walls rise like redstone jaws. Terrain that eats maps and spits out compasses. I went anyway, told Base I'd scout quick and radio back before sunset. Lied about bringing a partner. The truth was, I needed to see it alone. Needed to prove to myself the scratches, the shoe, the reflection were just tricks of light and panic. The hike in took longer than expected. Heat baked the sandstone, air shimmering, every step kicking up dust that stuck to sweat. By the time I reached the campsite, tucked in a flat pocket between two ridges, the sun was low, throwing long shadows that made everything look stretched and wrong. The mess was biblical. 7 permits. A larger group, probably a birthday or Bucks weekend from the look of it. Tents, 4 of them, were shredded like paper. Poles snapped, fabric hanging in ribbons from branches as if something had used them for target practice. Gear scattered in a wide radius, esky lids cracked open, contents spilled and half-rotted. Empty stubbies by the dozen, some still frosted from the night before. Food everywhere. Steaks charred black on a grill, packets of chips burst open, ants marching in black rivers over it all. Someone had tried to burn the evidence again. The fire pit was a crater of melted plastic, singed cardboard, and fused aluminium cans. The smell hit hardest. Sweet rot mixed with chemical smoke, the kind that coats the back of your throat. No bodies, no obvious blood, but the ground around the tents looked churned, like a dozen feet had stamped in panic before going still. I moved slow, camera out, gloved hands turning things over. A woman's jacket caught on a thorn bush, hood torn, one sleeve missing. A wallet wedged under a log, cards fanned out like they'd been rifled through. A half-eaten kebab skewer still in a plastic wrapper, meat starting to blacken. Then I found the phone. It was propped against a rock near the fire pit, screen up, like someone had placed it there deliberately. Battery at 3%, as if it had been waiting. The case was cracked but intact. I recognized the model from the second sight. Same brand, same color. Coincidence? I didn't think so. I powered it on. No lock screen, straight to home. The gallery app was open. Last photo time-stamped 2:14 a.m. 3 nights ago. Dark blur, tent interior, flash on, someone's arm in frame holding the phone. Behind them, the flap open to night. I swiped to video. One file, 1:47 long. Timestamp 2:17 a.m. I hit play. Volume low. At first, just rustling. Heavy breathing. Multiple people. Panicked whispers. What the fuck was that? Shut up, listen. Then a low scrape. Same as before. Slow, deliberate, circling the camp. Closer each pass. Laughter at one point. Nervous, drunk. Probably a wombat chill. The camera shakes. Someone points it outside. Torch beam sweeps the trees. Nothing but trunks and shadows. Then the scraping stops. Silence. Thick. Wrong. A voice. Male. Slurred. Guys, there's something in the... Cut off. A wet thud, like meat hitting dirt. Screams erupt, sharp, overlapping. The phone drops, camera facing up. Stars wheel overhead. Feet stamp past, running, stumbling. More thuds. Something heavy dragging across leaves. A low, guttural sound, not animal, not human. Like wet branches being forced apart. The video keeps rolling. The camp empties fast. No more voices, just the fire crackling, dying embers popping. Then, from off-frame, footsteps. Slow, heavy, coming back. The camera doesn't move. Something tall steps into view, silhouette against the embers. Legs too long, torso narrow and stretched, head tilted. It pauses over the phone, reaches down, long fingers, too many joints, almost curious. The screen reflects faintly in whatever passes for eyes. The hand closes around the phone, lifts it. The video ends in black, last frame frozen, that reaching shape, backlit, filling the frame. I dropped the phone like it burned, backed away fast. The scrape started again, faint, from the canyon rim above. Same rhythm, testing. I didn't run this time, walked, fast, deliberate, radio in hand, whispering position. Bass responded, Copy. Hold tight. Team inbound. Do not engage. I didn't plan to. Halfway down the trail, the scrape stopped. The bush went quiet again. Too quiet. No birds. No wind. Just my boots and breathing. When I looked back, the ridgeline was empty. But in the dirt at my feet, fresh like it had been pressed there moments ago, a single word scratched deep. Clean. I kept walking. Back at base that night, I handed over the phone. They watched the video in silence. No one joked. No one said heat stroke. The next morning, the reports stopped. No new missing groups, no fresh messes. But the old sites? When patrols checked, the trash was gone. Tents folded neatly, gear stacked, fire pits raked smooth, like nothing had happened, like someone had finally cleaned up after themselves. And every night since, when the house is dark and the wind dies, I hear it again, that slow scrape. Circling. Patient. Waiting for the next messy camper. Waiting to tidy up. The final patrol was supposed to be routine. A sweep of the 3 sites we'd documented, plus a quick check on a 4th reported by a solo hiker who turned back fast after smelling smoke and rot from half a kilometer away. Base had finally escalated it. Joint operation with NPWS Rangers, NSW Police Search and Rescue, and a couple of wildlife officers who specialized in large predator incidents. No one said the word serial out loud, but the briefing room felt like it. Maps pinned with red dots, timelines, trash patterns, the word clean scratched into bark and dirt at every scene. I was assigned the original site, the first one I'd found. They wanted eyes that had seen it fresh. I didn't argue. Part of me needed closure. The bigger part just wanted to prove the thing wasn't real. We went in at first light, 4 of us, me, 2 rangers, 1 armed, and a detective who'd drawn the short straw on the missing persons file. The air was cool, mist hanging in the gullies. The kind of morning that should have felt clean and promising. Instead, it felt watchful. The clearing looked different, not trashed anymore. Tents were gone, gear stacked in neat piles near where the fire pit had been, now raked smooth, no ash, no melted plastic. Sleeping bags folded, food wrappers vanished. Even the broken glass had disappeared. The ground looked swept, leaf litter arranged in careful patterns like someone had taken a broom to it. The only thing left out of place was a single item in the exact center of the old fire circle, a folded piece of paper. I approached slow. The others hung back, hands near radios and holsters. I unfolded it with gloved fingers, handwritten, block letters, black marker bleeding through the page. Thank you for the mess. It was getting crowded, now it's clean. Your turn next time. Underneath, a rough sketch. A stick figure standing in a clearing, surrounded by neat piles. Another figure, taller, thinner, standing just outside the frame. Long arms reaching toward the first one. I showed it to the team. No one spoke for a long minute. The detective bagged it. We're pulling everyone out. Full closure of this section until further notice. We hiked out in silence. Halfway down the trail, the scrape started again. Faint at first, then steady. Circling wide, keeping pace. Not aggressive, just present, like an usher making sure the audience left the theater. No one mentioned it. We all heard it. Back at the station that afternoon, the decision came down fast. The canyon system was shut indefinitely. Signs posted at every trailhead, permits suspended, media briefed with a bland story about environmental concerns and recent bushfire risk. No mention of missing people, no photos released. But the sites kept getting checked, quietly, by rangers who drew the short straws. They reported the same thing every time. The areas were pristine, no litter, no tracks, no sign anyone had ever camped there. Except once. A month later, one of the wildlife officers found something new at the second site, the one with the shoe. A fresh pile of rubbish, deliberate, arranged in the center of the clearing like an offering. Empty cans, chip packets, a torn tent flap, a cracked phone, and on top, another note. Left this for you, don't leave it again. The phone was the same model as before, battery at 3%, one new video. I wasn't there when they played it, they wouldn't let me. But the officer who watched it quit the next day, said he saw the silhouette again, taller this time, closer, and at the end, just before the screen went black, it turned the camera around, showed the viewer's face. It was his own, reflected in whatever passed for eyes. He hasn't been back to the bush since. I still work the trails, different sections now, closer to town, busier tracks, places where people don't vanish quietly. But every time I find a scrap of rubbish, wrapper, bottle, anything, I pick it up, bag it, carry it out. I don't leave messes anymore. Because I know something out there is still hungry, still circling, still waiting for the next group to get sloppy. And when they do, it'll tidy up, one slow scrape at a time. And next time, it might not just take the campers, it might take the one who cleans up after them. I hear it sometimes, even here, faint, patient, dragging through the leaf litter just beyond the edge of the light, waiting, always waiting, for the next mess.